hello, this is so scary, there's so many of you, and there's like bright lights, this is really cool. I forgot I said that about geese, but I do love geese. They're really cool. I really like angry animals. There's something about them that's like kind of cute. Do you know what I mean? No? Maybe it's just me. I'm a bit weird. So. But yeah, today I'm here to talk to you about tech internships and how to run awesome tech internships. So my Twitter handle is webdevbev. I am a junior front-end developer at Oxford Computer Consultants, as Meryl said. And yeah, I haven't had an intern. I've had work experience students. I haven't had an intern, but I've been an intern myself a lot of times. So I've been an intern 3 times. So this is my career path. So in 2015, I graduated from Warwick with an English and German literature degree. I kind of like floated around for a bit. I didn't really know what to do with it. I knew I kind of wanted to work in tech, but I didn't know how to get there. And then Warwick ran this graduate internship scheme. So through that, there were lots of different internships available, and there was one at Code First Girls available. So Code First Girls is an organization which runs events and courses for women who want to get into tech. I worked for them as an intern in admin for 3 months, then as a proper programs associate position for 4 months. I then came across the Zooniverse internship. So there was a 3-month web developer internship at Zooniverse, which is based at the Oxford University. It's the world's largest citizen science research platform. I was really nervous about this career move. I was a bit like, I'm not good enough. I'm like, no one are good enough. And I spoke to Cam, who's the guy next to me on the right-hand side. And he was like, apply for it, go on, do it. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure. And he was like, do it, it's going to be fine. I applied to it, and I got it. So, yay, that was really good. And yeah, that was 3 months. After that, they didn't have capacity to hire me, so because it's like the grants and things. So I then did another internship. This was a front-end developer internship at Oxford Computer Consultants. This was for 6 months in their UX design studio, and then I now have a permanent position with them, which is great. Yay, permanent contract. That I was very glad to get that. I enjoyed the internships, but yeah, permanent contract was good. But yeah, why am I talking about internships? So in this industry, we talk a lot about we need to diversify our industry. You know, we do. Other people have talked about it in much more detail than I can and will in this talk. And diversity is obviously a really broad area. Women are just one part of that. But yeah, in 2017, only 15% of female graduates, well, only 15% of computer science graduates were female. So if we want to hire more diverse candidates, we can't just hire people who've got computer science degrees. You know, we need to look at other options for getting people into this industry. So taking myself as an example, when I was looking into it at Code First Girls, I saw that there were 4 options. So the first option was do a boot camp. And boot camps are awesome. You know, if I could have done one, I would. But I couldn't, because you can either do a paid boot camp, like Makers Academy, which is awesome, but I had no savings. I couldn't afford an £8,000 boot camp, you know. There's also Founders and Coders, which is also awesome, but I couldn't afford to do a full-time boot camp in London. You know, I needed to be able to support myself financially alongside doing the boot camp. So boot camps were not an option. There's also graduate schemes, but graduate schemes often require that you have a STEM degree. I have a literature degree, so I can't do grad schemes, so I couldn't do most of them, the ones that I found. Also, you have apprenticeships, but for most apprenticeships, you need to not have a degree. So I saw one, I rang them, and I was like, hey, I want to do your apprenticeship. And they were like, well, you can't, because you've got an irrelevant degree, but you've still got a degree, you know? So I was like, oh, okay. So a paid internship was the only route for me. I don't think my story, my situation is that unique. There are so many organizations out there full of people who are already working in different jobs, different sectors, they've already got degrees, and they want to join us. Code First Girls has got a community of 5,000 people. CodeBar has a community of about 10,000 people, of people who give up their time after work to learn to code. And lots of them are in the position that I was in. You know, they're not ready for junior positions, but how do they get there? You know, So to me, it's pretty clear that this is a huge opportunity for us to diversify this tech industry. Create these internships so they can come and join us. We need more of them. At Co-First Girls, I curated the newsletter for 7 months, and the Zooniverse internship was the only internship that came through to us in 7 months. It's the only internship to our community of like 4,000 people. Yeah. So that's a little bit about why we should do internships. I'm now going to talk about how to do them. So other people in this conference have covered, this topic in a much more kind of broad way. I'm just going to cover things that are specific to internships. So just to clarify what I mean by internship before I do that, on-the-job training within a team. So you're not isolated on a training scheme. You're within the team. You are working in the team. It's paid. It's because you're doing work. You're working within the team. It's suitable for beginners and for people of any educational background. So it doesn't matter what kind of degree you have if you do or you don't. So hopefully you're now interested in doing an internship. So duration. My recommended duration is 6 months. So I did a 3-month internship, and it was fantastic, and I'm so glad that I did it. But 3 months, it takes 1 month to settle in. 1 month to get to grips with what's going on, who's who, what's where. And then you've got 2 months left. And when you're getting to 2 months, near not having a job, you need to find another job. But at that point, you've not really been focusing on learning, you've been focusing on getting into the organization. And so you're applying for jobs not knowing how to do the tech tests. And that is really stressful, and it takes your focus away from what you're trying to learn. Whereas 6 months, you're in 1 month to settle in, you've got 3 or 4 months to properly focus on learning, not worry about where your next income is going to come from. Salary, at least living wage. As I said, you're working. As an intern, you are doing work for the company. There's a difference between national minimum wage and living wage. So I live in Oxford. Oxford is nearly as expensive, if not more expensive, to live in than London. London's an expensive place to live. Living wage is not the same as national minimum wage. And if you're paying your intern less than they need to live, they need to have savings to be able to do your internship, which again is financial stress. And you want to keep your intern not stressed, because they need to learn. They're here to learn. You're running an internship to help someone learn. There's some information around what is an internship. I put a link at the end of these slides about the legal meaning of an internship. What matters behind it is are you a worker, an employee, or a volunteer? You can read about that in your own time. There's a link. Structure. So you want to give your intern something that is a good kind of weighty project, so that at the end of the internship, they can talk about, hey, I worked on this feature in depth. They want something that's in depth to really focus on. So if you're a product company, maybe there's a feature they could work on. Something that you've always wanted doing, they could go in and build this feature for you. If you're in an agency, maybe you've got a client who's come in with a big project. They can work with a team on that project. They can contribute as a team member, pick up tasks from the Jira board or whatever. If you really can't offer any of those things, then give them a personal project, to pick up on when things are quiet. There's an option for every business style. And lastly, support. So support is really important to people who are switching careers into an internship. They really want to know, how are you going to support them? So for me, I gave up a proper contract to go and do a 3-month internship in a new city, which was a hell of a gamble. I was a bit like, what am I doing? What am I doing? But it's paid off, but it's a gamble. When you're already in an established career path, it is a hard thing to do. So yeah, really emphasize in your advert the support you're going to give them. So hopefully now you've kind of got an idea of how you're going to write your internship job spec. So what do you do interacting with interns? So first of all, be nice in interviews. I hear some people say we should stress people out in interviews, and I kind of think, maybe if you're hiring for a senior person who's, doing really senior stuff, maybe then you want to do that. But if you're hiring for an intern, if you're going to be asking them to push to production on a Friday afternoon, then I'm just going to say it, you shouldn't be hiring an intern. Because that's not what an intern's there to do. If you stress someone out in an interview, all you're going to see is how they deal with stress. You're not going to see all the other parts of them. And that is particularly important for an internship where they're nervous. Also, when they're working into your office, that could be the first time they've ever seen a tech company. It's like their first impression of it. Planned learning. So it's really important to have a conversation with them about what do you want to learn? Like, what are you interested in? In this conversation, it's important to tell them what there is that they can learn. So they might not have had a computer science background. They don't know the possibilities. So you need to find out what they're interested in, but also tell them what is possible. Regularly check in. So in the first week, every day, be like, hey, how are you? How is that paperwork going? Have you been to see this person? Then after that, once a week, set aside an hour where they can store up questions to ask you in the week. So they know that someone's going to come see them. They know they feel looked after. That's really important. And lastly, on this bit, include them in team meetings. So, lots of these people, they come from different career paths. They have different degrees. This means they're really skilled, in stuff that you probably don't already have skills in. To take an example, when I was in the UX design studio at Oxford Computer Consultants, I ran an active listening workshop. So for part of my degree, alongside my degree, I did some supportive listening through something like the Samaritans. And so I ran this workshop, sharing the skills I'd learned from that. And that was useful for the UX designers who do user interviews quite a lot. When you're taking in someone from a different industry, they have a huge amount of skills that are really valuable. They're not unskilled people. They're really skilled people. And you can really learn from them if you include them. And Mariana, my boss, was amazing. She was like, yeah, do the workshop. And she was like taking tweets and stuff and just being like, this is awesome. It was really good. And I then understood better what it was like to be in their team. I was part of the team. I was sharing duties of the team. I also ran some of the retros for them because we alternated that. And that was really important. I've talked a lot about what worked for me, but I'm a different person now to who I was when I started out. I'm different. I was different at each of the internships, It was really hard, switching out of a job into a 3-month internship. And I really loved the 3-month internship, but it was too short for me. My sister had a car crash in the middle, and I had to take a week out, and it was really quite traumatic. And so it disrupted it a little bit. Life happens. And then afterwards, I really struggled to find a job straight away because it was November. So I was on housing benefit for a bit. Understanding the person who is in your office, understanding that they're probably in a different position to you in life, and being empathyful, whatever the word is. But understanding who they are, what challenges they face, because it's probably going to be different to the ones that you face, particularly for, more diverse people. Really understand who's in your office, who you're working with, and what works for them. A little bit about, again, why am I doing this talk? I've already done my internships. Well, I run Codebot Oxford, which is regular workshops for people from underrepresented groups in tech. And I teach on Code First Girls courses, which is an introduction to front-end development as a volunteer. That slide earlier of all the different organizations, there are hundreds of volunteers teaching people to learn to code. And sometimes they ask me, with the kind of shine in their eyes, they've really enjoyed their session, they really want to do this as a job. And they say to me, okay, how do I get there? And I'm always like, no. Well, move to London, do a boot camp, leave your family behind, Or, I don't know what to say to them. Just really work really hard in your spare time, especially mums, They can't do that. They can't just give up their evenings to learn to code. So, what options do we have for these people? It's kind of hard. So I want more internships to go and bring to them. So please do more internships and tell me about them. And then we can get more people into the industry. That was pretty much my talk. I have some resources now I'm going to talk through. The WIRES campaign is where I got the statistic from at the start about women in computer science. Good resource. I've got the gov.uk employment rights for interns link, which explains the kind of legality around it in terms of pay scale bands and stuff. That's a good resource. I recommend that. Textio is an awesome tool. I got it from Cam, who worked at Zooniverse. When I was really nervous about joining, he really took that on board. He was like, okay, what can we do to make our internship advert more inclusive? And he ran his advert through this tool. It checks job adverts and changes wording to make them more inclusive. It's really useful. I've run it through adverts I've written before for internships, and it corrects stuff that I've written, and I'm like an English graduate. So yeah, Textio is a really good tool, really recommend it. Lastly, I've put a link to the Santander internship scheme. It kind of contradicts some of the things I'm saying. So it's for a 3-month internship, and you aim it at a university, but they give you some money towards the running cost of it. If you can afford to pay for the internship yourself and just do it on your own terms, then that is a much better route. But I appreciate that some organizations can't just do that. So that is a link for those of you who might need it. Yeah, that was my talk. I'm WebDevBev. These are my slides if anybody wants to look at them. Thank you for listening to me. You've been a nice audience.